Hi, welcome to Project Geospatial. I'm Adam Simmons here at the GEOINT 2024 Symposium in Orlando, Florida. And I have the pleasure once again of talking with Dan Opstal and Civil Applications Committee, correct? USGS.
USGS,
yes. But we're not quite just talking about the USGS USGS and the Civil Applications Committee. We have some really unique projects that you are working on that we'd like to learn more about.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm excited to be here. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, go ahead and reintroduce yourself in terms of what you do briefly, and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, no, sounds good. So I'm the Executive Secretary of the Civil Applications Committee. In that role, I support our Director of USGS in his role as the Chair of the CAC. And so we bring together, for those that are not familiar, various geospatial professionals from the interagency, from 18 different federal civil organizations that engage with our national security community, essentially to put in requirements to that community and be able to work together in what we call the triple junction, the relationship of the GEOINT professionals and DoD, Intel community, and the federal civil. And I like to think of it as a two-way road. The DoD and IC side provides capability. Some of that is commercial remote sensing, some of that is national sensors. And then the Civil Applications Committee provides requirements and expertise in those domains that can then be kind of shared back and forth. And so what I'm doing here is actually giving a lightning talk on one of our offices that is fairly unique in terms of civil applications, and that is the use of GEOINT in tracking asteroids. I work with an office that does, and it's actually, we call them science centers, so I want to make sure that's clear. It's sort of the line unit, right? So the astrogeology science centers out in Flagstaff, and what they do is they're actually the folks that trained the Apollo astronauts on sort of the lunar geography and like what the regolith and what the kind of the minerals they might find on the surface of the moon. So the whole long history of like understanding kind of outer space and working on like lunar cartography and working in that space. Well, we not so long ago had one of their folks over in a discussion on civil applications, introducing him around. He started talking about this thing called Apophis. And we said, so what's Apophis? So, well, it's the Egyptian god of chaos and darkness.
Oh boy, starting dark there.
Yeah, it kind of was, right? And so I said, no, it's an asteroid. Oh, okay, all right. So you guys track asteroids, you work? He said, yeah, our office is funded by NASA in part. And so we said, okay. So Apophis is this asteroid that in 2029, April 13th, 2029, it's going to come like close approach to the Earth.
How close are we talking here?
Well, that's just it, right? So I said, yeah, that's the exact question I had, right? The exact same reaction too, just about. So Tim turns to me and says, well, within the GeoBelt. Oh, like 20,000 miles or so. Is that like close? He says, yeah, that's pretty doggone close. And I said, wow. Okay. So what are we talking about here? Well, we don't want to miss it. I said, we don't want to miss it. Aren't there like sensors that are out there?
I think we do want to miss it.
Yeah, right. We're happy it's that far away, but normally that's a pretty close asteroid in terms of, right. When we talk about asteroids, we often talk about like lunar distance, which is the distance from like the Earth to the Moon, LD. That's pretty straightforward to talk about. And then there's astronomical units, right? So that's like the distance from
Earth to the Sun.
Earth to the Sun, exactly. So normally you want to talk about those types of distances. That's normally not like 20,000 miles. So anyway, we had him around sort of the community, and we had a chance to kind of talk about this a little bit more and go, this would be a really interesting civil application, because what we're essentially saying is, kind of like the opposite of the plot of the movie Don't Look Up, right? Look up. Everyone look up and consider the implications of this, for space situational awareness. This is an absolutely unique opportunity for the GEOINT community to be aware that this thing is so close that, we may have to maneuver satellites. Who knows what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to do some things in space, but also it's not just the ground segment that can provide remote sensing information on this asteroid. By the way, it's about 340 meters in size. This
Sounds small.
You know, it is, but if something that size were to impact the planet, it would have significant
I
implications.
say small, 340 meters or so. That's like what, 3.5 football fields
Yeah.
big. You know,
It's still capable of causing a lot of damage.
yeah, absolutely. So
yeah.
we're talking maybe a city killer,
Yeah, potentially.
but we're also not talking about it hitting.
Right. We're not.
What are the
We are not.
implications of it even just going through the geobelt?
Yeah, so that's the whole idea here of discussing this and saying, look up, right? The implications are that we now have an opportunity for all of those resources in the various orbits to turn up and get imagery of this platform and get different aspects of it. You might say, well, wait a minute, Dan, why are you doing that when, you know, we have NASA sending platforms out right to these places? So there was the DART mission, right, the double asteroid redirection effort that tried, was flying into an asteroid. There have been various missions. So there is going to be a mission to Apophis. But one of the current status of that mission is it's going to get closest to Apophis when it's past the point of closest approach on April 13th, 2029. So this is kind of an opportunity for the GEOINT community to have those resources looking at this, both the ground network, which is this amazing array of NASA instruments, everything from the Goldstone Deep Space Radar and to the Green Bank, West Virginia. They're actually doing some bistatic work, which is really cool. And so they're getting a lot of information on this platform, but this is an opportunity to get really cool imagery of sort of a non-Earth asteroid. Talk about taking non-Earth imaging to the next level. That really got my attention because we're very interested in these kind of unique civil applications that the interagency brings to us, right? Normally my work goes about science, disaster response, and those things are crucial, right? We need the national systems to work together with commercial systems, and we need to be able to use these resources to analyze these topics. But in terms of science, this is just a really interesting opportunity with a date attached to it, right? It's not like I can predict disasters or anything like that. We do a lot of pre- and post-disaster work. We know a season. We have some timing. But here we have a close approach asteroid with a specific date and a mission associated with, of course, NASA going out there to investigate it further. So Apus is this really cool opportunity.
It is really, really cool, but the also consequences going through the geobelt is there's actually other satellites in that geo realm as well.
Correct.
So it does, whether or not it poses a direct threat to the planet, it does definitely pose a threat to the satellites that are up in the air right now.
Correct.
It might just scrape through. I mean, space is really big.
There's
obviously a lot of space in between the space.
Yes, indeed.
But there is a risk there.
There is. Yeah, and interestingly enough, the trajectory of this particular asteroid, there are tidal forces at work that they're monitoring, right? On the asteroid itself, there's a spin state that will be happening, right? There's a spin,
Wow.
And there's all of this really interesting orbital mechanics work that comes into play here. That's part of this. So yeah, we don't have all of those details yet.
So go back to the role of the Civil Applications Committee in terms of working with NASA and these other parties to pull in and organize these potential collection opportunities.
Right, so wonderful point. So within the National Civil Applications Center, we have collection officers, and they can help take requirements. And typically we do that through the Commercial Remote Sensing Space Policy. There's a data repository.
These are the tasked commercial satellites that turn around essentially and point their cameras at the
it's
asteroid.
actually the task commercial satellites to do almost, and national satellites to do something on behalf of the federal civil community, be that a science application like this one or a disaster response, right?
Awesome.
So this is essentially using that mechanism to have our collection officers put this into the system and make sure that essentially we're ready. And it's neat because we have, like I said, a specific date and time for when this is going to happen. And obviously, we're not the only ones looking at this. If anybody has resources in those geobelt and over there, looking at Apophis, and actually, incidentally, the previous 27, 28, and 29 are actually. That 3-year timing is actually a very unique time in terms of like the close approach, right? So there's actually 2 other asteroids that don't have a cool name like Apophis, the Egyptian god of chaos and darkness. They're just, I think one of them was Whiskey November 5 or something like that. But anyway, the idea here is they also are coming fairly close to the planet, like to the point that you may be able to see them with binoculars.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's just an interesting time in just the field of astronomy, geology, just understanding orbital mechanics with these particular things, and like you said, concern about maneuvering space vehicles out of the way, if necessary. Right?
That to me is the threat, not the hitting the Earth part.
Yes, it is indeed the threat, right?
Yeah.
And that those conjunctions are, that's a topic of increasing,
especially with all the conversations on the side about how to clean up space debris. We're looking at a potential danger that can increase it, an unprecedented fold, right?
Right.
So, well, this is awesome. I really look forward to learning about this and keeping track of it as this project develops.
Thanks.
Sounds like an amazing opportunity. Not just scientific, but just to I don't know what you call it, humanitarian.
Yeah, I would say it's for all of humanity, right? Literally, right? I mean, and that's what I love about this particular work of the USGS is that it's just, it's for everyone, right? It's NASA, it's USGS partners, it's all of these other partners working together.
So what, in terms of your perspective, what type of sensor, I know you're going to be diving into a bunch of them probably to play around with, but in your personal opinion, what sensor do you think might have the most, be the most beneficial in this case?
So it's really hard for me to say because there are so many dynamics at play, right? And so I hate to pick a favorite.
Are we looking for a hyperspectral in terms of trying to identify the materials and maybe the mineral composition of the satellite? Are we looking at SAR to maybe do a little penetration and see how that behaves?
I think SAR is absolutely fantastic for that, especially as they also analyze spin state and that kind of thing. But you're right, hyperspectral is very interesting. While at this conference here, GEOINT 2024, I met a company that actually works in that arena, which is so cool. It's
maybe even a little infrared, just to see what are there any indications of anything else going on with it?
Right, that's exactly right. So this company that I met, I think they're called Carillion. Their idea is to get closer to a satellite and actually analyze. They haven't said which one, but they're going to actually get up close and image an asteroid. That's a separate effort outside of all of this to go up and analyze it and maybe conduct mining activity, which of course has the
a lot of potential there.
A lot of really interesting potential associated with what kind of precious metals they can get and pull off of there. So
sweet. Well, Dan, thank you for this insight to what the latest of what the Civil Application Committee is working on. And once again, it's a pleasure talking with you again.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is one of several that we're always working on various applications, and it's just fun to be here chatting with you. This is we've got several folks from our volcanoes, folks here, people that are working on wildland fire. These are obviously terra firma problems that are in everyone's face every day.
Oh yeah.
But this one was just too much fun to not talk about.
It's
out of this world, right?
Oh, bingo! Like it. Well, I'm Adam Sims of Project Geospatial. We will talk to everybody next time. Thanks.